Welcome to the program. The political atmosphere in Rivers State continues to heat up as the October 5 local government elections draw near. Recently, local government caretaker chairman from the People's Democratic Party decamped to the Action People's Party. The wave of defections come ahead of the upcoming local government elections, with many now contesting for positions under the APP banner. Key political figures from the PDP, including local government caretaker chairman loyal to Governor Sim Fubara, are among those who have found a new home in APP. As campaign activities gear up, the party is gaining momentum. We're supposed to have the Rivers State chairman of APP join us live from Port Harcourt, the capital of Rivers, but he cancelled last minute. So we're not having him today. It's unfortunate. He told us that he was called to the government house by the governor and so was unable to honor this important discussion. It would have been great to hear from the horse's mouth to see what is actually going on ground in Rivers State. But we do have some analysts with us. So joining me for an in-depth analysis on this issue is Dr. Austin Maho. He is a public affairs analyst and a lecturer at the Institute of Journalism, Abuja. We also have Akeregha. He's a political analyst and a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Gentlemen, it's so great to have you.
So great to be here.
You saved the day.
Yeah, and we are living in interesting times.
Yes,
so
we are.
Talking about Nigeria is always interesting, and the political climate as it relates to Rivers State, which is heating up.
Yes.
With the ascendancy.
Yes.
Of APP over APC and PDP.
Yes. Okay,
interesting times indeed.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. And so let's start with, again, the people should be the center of any political system or the center of governance, the center of service. But what we have seen all over Nigeria, not only in Rivers State, is that oftentimes this political crisis between the big men or the high-profile personalities dwarfs the importance of doing the actual work. So what do you think, or how do you think this affects Rivers State citizens? Let me start with you, Dr. Maho.
Yeah, it's political parties, actually, they are more like, I will say, vehicles for attaining political power. And in this case, APP is like a special purpose vehicle.
Let's focus on the people for now, yes.
Special purpose vehicle. Yeah. If we are focusing on the people, Dr. Constance, I would say that it says a lot about politics in Nigeria. Do we play politics that is people-centric, people-centered, or do we play politics of the political leaders wanting to gain power by all means necessary? Is it about the people? Is it about good governance? Is it about delivering the dividend of democracy? Or is it about gladiators in the political space trying to remain relevant at all costs, irrespective of what is in the best interest of the people? These are fundamental questions that dwells down to the fundamentals of what democracy is and what democracy means, and why we say that democracy is the best form of government. Because if you want to also look at the theory, the theoretical foundation of what democracy means you need to think about is government of the people, for the people, by the people. The people is centered in democracy. But by the time you remove the people from democracy, the fact remains that we no longer have a democracy. What we have masquerading as democracy, you can call it autocracy, or you call it civilian rule, which it's not a reflection of the will of the people. That is what I see here. So for your question, I would say it's left for us as citizens, analysts, to actually say what we call democracy in Nigeria, is it actually democracy? Is it what democracy means? Or we are having a civilian administration, state capture, masquerading as democracy?
Right. Igor, I would ask you a similar question. People of Rivers are suffering on account of what is currently going on. For a lot of people, that's really a shame where we are in the state of affairs in that part of the country.
Well, Rivers State is a microcosm of Nigeria if you want to relate what is happening in Rivers to the general Nigerian question. The clear absence of political ideology and philosophy amongst Nigerian politicians and political leaders, have pushed the citizenry into a situation where the choices are usually very dire. If you look at the case of Edo State recently, it became an issue of who really is, who should the people turn to? Is it the PDP candidate, the APC candidate, or the Labour Party candidate? Where a lot of these candidates do not have a clear political ideology that is people-centered, as Dr. Maho said, something that the people can look up to, and that they can do some basic political measurement to say, well, within 6 months, within 3 months, these are the democracy dividends. So over time, we have had Nigerian politicians mounting the concept of democracy dividends. You vote for me, I will do this for you. And interestingly, and shamefully so, you also then find that we are in some kind of political conundrum where politicians, we promise the same thing over and over again. They will talk about building roads, we'll give you water, we'll give you this. Very nauseating, tragically very absurd and sad at the same time. So for Rivers State people, they are just almost back to where most Nigerians were in people have said in 2015, the PDP wasn't a good option, and so they wanted something better. We didn't know we're also driving ourselves into a deeper end of the hole, as it were. So for Rivers, it's so unfortunate, and you find politicians just moving, as Dr. Ma also says, special purpose vehicle. Is it for the interest of the people or just the interest of the political drivers, just to achieve their own political end, to ensure that they don't get locked out of the small room of the class of politicians that have held the country hostage. So for me, really, I do not, it is all heat and no motion, all movement and no motion, really, that is coming out of Rivers.
When you follow the trajectory of Rivers State, it seems that it is one of the most politically volatile states in Nigeria. We do have crises across, but when it comes to Rivers, it looks like it's always higher a notch. Do you have a sense of what makes Rivers different? It would have been great to ask, the APP chairman. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. But you are reporters and you follow political issues around the country. Do you have a sense of what makes Rivers different?
Of course, it's obvious. When you look at, when you do an analysis of election in Nigeria from 1999 to date, there are 3 key states that determines who becomes the president of the country. The 3 states are 1, Kano, Lagos, Rivers. These 3 states have the largest voting bloc. And these 3 states equally amounts to, when you say the economic hub of Nigeria, these are the 3 key states. If you look at from 1999 to date, those who have won the presidency of this country always win these 3 states. Unfortunately, the incumbent, I'm talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who won less than 37% of the votes to become the president of this country, failed to win Kano, won Rivers State. As a result, there were so many abracadabra, PDP state, won governorship won by the PDP candidate, but presidency won by the APC, the incumbent. So if you put, and of course,
he didn't win Lagos.
He didn't win Lagos.
Yes.
Did he also win Abuja?
He didn't win Abuja.
Yes.
So when you put all this into context and you look at it, you know that at times I want to believe that what we are seeing playing out is towards the politics of 2027. Forces are aligning and realigning. Where should our stronghold be? And where do we need to invest more when 2027 comes, so that we are sure that we can remain relevant, we can take the day in 2027. So that is why you see all this horse trading, this game, this attempt to remain relevant, to hold, the political levers of the state to hold it down. So to that extent, Rivers is very important. Kano is important. Lagos is important. And this, when you look at Rivers and you look at Kano, the center is not holding Kano. Kano is under Kwakwanso, and Kwakwanso belongs to NNPP. So what would the center do? And I know that, as journalists, we do know that there are some underground moves to have, over time, since in the last 1 year, to get Kwakwanso to join APC. But that has not worked out. So at least there's an attempt to lock Rivers down for now, lock it down. Then you can now start making moves towards Kano.
Right.
Lagos, of course, we know anything can happen.
Yes.
But if this is not working out, and the person who is supposed to do this for Rivers State is the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, yes. Wike, and he's fighting a battle to no end. He can't. Right. The attempt for reconciliation between him and his godson has not worked out. So what's the option for him and for Fubara? Fubara has a political need to think about his political future. And that is why all this is playing out. And I believe that in the course of the program, we'll be able to look at in depth,
right,
the implication of APP taking over the political structure of PDP in Rivers State.
So, Igor, I would like you to continue from where he landed, talking about, the APC is struggling to get Rivers. It doesn't have Kano. Lagos, how do you see it panning out? Because it didn't win Lagos last year. How do you see it panning out? And do you have anything to add in terms of why Rivers is so hot?
Well, let me start from your last talk. Why Rivers is so hot. Rivers is so hot because of the politics of godfatherism in Nigeria. That is really at the bottom of all of this crisis. If you look at even what happened in Edo State, for example, Monday Okpebholo, who is the godfather of Monday Okpebholo? It is Adams Oshomole, Senator Adams Oshomole. Who is the godfather of, supposed godfather of Sim Fubara? It's supposed to be Nyesom Wike. Don't forget that Fubara was the accountant general of Rivers State, so he was the exchequer of Rivers State while Wike was governor of the state. And so all of this that you see, and for Lagos State, we've seen that the overlord of Lagos politics is the incumbent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He chooses and dictates who become governor of Lagos State. We know what happened to Fashola. When Fashola did his first term, he didn't quite want Fashola, and Fashola fell out with Tinubu. It was a dirty fight. Fashola had to take pages of newspaper to write epistles about the political crisis in Lagos State, and at a point he even alluded to, literally said that it's going to be a pig fight, that in a pig fight he will be dirty and the president himself, then Tinubu will also be dirty. So the entire concept of political godfatherism is not doing us any good in terms of deepening our democratic processes. So for Rivers State, you look at the Action People's Party, which is a relatively unknown political party, which the governor is now moving to. The governor has not expressly told Nigerians that he's going to APP, but he has told all his foot soldiers. For example, the caretaker committee chairman of Obiakpo local government, Chijioke Ihunwo, he's the one that actually came out X, that is formerly Twitter, to announce that he's not there, and then he was thanking Fubara for. So it is clear that all his loyalists are moving there, and eventually he might go there.
Okay, Dr. Maho, the political dynamics is about to change in Rivers State. So, like you mentioned, the caretaker committee chairman that were under the People's Democratic Party, which is the party of the current governor, they have moved to the APP, a relatively
unknown,
new unknown party. They are contesting for local government elections and councilorship elections on the platform of that party. How do you see that playing out? Do you think they will be able to knock out more established APC and PDP? You know, what are you hearing?
You know, that is why earlier on I said a political party is more like a special purpose vehicle to deliver people to power. It doesn't mean that if somebody moves from APC, we've seen it played out, of course. Of course, if you look at the case of Edo, although you say, like Igbo has said, although you say when it comes to contestation of power, you know, at times you want to look at the dramatic personnel involved. It's all about those who are involved in the contestation for power. It's not about the political party. If you're on ground and you have the people behind you, you can contest under any political party, and of course you win the day. And that is why people have, you know, there has been this agitation over the years for independent candidacy, you know, because if actually you're on ground and the mainstream political parties are trying to undercut you, they are not giving the ticket to run under their platform, you should be able to run as an independent candidate if actually you have the people behind you. But in a situation whereby you have political parties and you need to run under these political parties, and you are a governor of a state and you find out that the structure of the political party, the vehicle that brought you to power, you are not in control of it, and you want to move to another mainstream political party, the one that controls the center, I'm talking about Fubara now, and you find out that you are being checkmated, you don't have the capacity, I don't want to say capacity now, you are not allowed to move to the other political party. The option is to look, the only thing left for you to do is to look for a third option, which is pick up a nondescript political party like the APP and say, look, I want to build this party and make it relevant in my state and get all my loyalists to move a mass movement into a new political party. And I think that's what's playing out in Rivers State.
Right.
Fubara, as a PDP governor in Rivers State, is supposed to control, be in charge of the PDP structure of the state. Is he in charge of the PDP structure of the state?
He's not in control. Yeah.
Wike seems to be so powerful.
Right.
He controls PDP in the state. He controls APC in
So
the state.
so let me ask you, yes.
In
yes,
a way,
so that,
he has poisoned the waters for a Fubara in
right.
both political parties. So Fubara cannot move, cannot breathe, is asphyxiated. So what does he do? APP offers fresh air.
Right. And if we don't know what's going to happen, we're just analyzing. If the APP happens to win some of these local government elections, you know, as a governor in a state, you want to have the local government chairman in your party. You also want to have a majority of the State House of Assembly members in your party. So it's October 5 very soon. In a few days, we'll know what's going to, or the outcome. If they do win, the APP, what do you think this means for Minister Wike in Rivers State?
It means Minister Wike will be holding the short end of the stick. He would have lost out because as it is, PDP says they are not contesting the local council elections on October 5. So it is a game of chess, you know. It's a game of chess that is going on between Wike and Fubara, between Godson and Godfather. I hate to call a governor Godson, really, because for me, who is really a Godson and who is a Godfather, as it were. So Wike might end up holding the short end of the stick. But even at that, he still controls very powerful levers. You know, where if you look at all of the crises since last year, 23 House of Assembly members who remain fixated on loyalty to Wike. They've refused, you know, to recognize, to budge. And so where does that leave those 23 House of Assembly members? Then all of the caretaker committee chairmen that Fubara appointed, all of them have moved into APP as it were, and they are going to contest the election. If they don't win, then at the grassroots, because whether we like it or not, politics is local, is located at the grassroots. So if Governor Fubara is able to control the 23 local governments in Rivers State using the APP as a vehicle, then it will mean that he already has a structure, a firm structure in his hands. So what will Wike be doing with the carcass of PDP in his hands? At that, what Wike will really, what will be left with? So the options becomes very limited for the FCT minister. And the options are there. I'm sure that Fubara initially, he was a bit lukewarm, whether to go on a head-on political battle with Wike. But I think he has gotten the necessary counsel, and it is a battle for survival. It's an existential political battle. Mostly for Fubara. But for Wike, really, what does he have to lose? He's a minister. He's in the good books of President Tinubu. Tinubu likes him a lot. The National Assembly just is considering another supplementary budget of over 20 billion they want to give to him. So Wike is enjoying himself in Abuja, but really, his objective in Rivers State is, as Maho said, Rivers is a strong voting bloc when it comes to presidential elections. So any president, and coming from a big oil producing, it's a big oil producing state from the South region, any president will want to have that. Because it is, apart from maybe Cross River, which is APC, really, there's no, Cross River does not control too much of oil and gas resources. It's in the hands of Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom is PDP. And they moved to Bayelsa, you moved to Rivers, you moved to Delta. Edo was PDP up until now, before we saw the elections that took place. And the APC national chairman is telling Nigerians that they will use the Edo model, and they will use it for Ondo State. So we wait to see, but I think Anambra. But this is not the way to go, really. We thought by now we should deepen our democratic processes. But the way, since 2015 that the APC took over, I have not seen any value addition in terms of politics, what have really added.
And talking about deepening our democracy, all of this moving from one party to the other, it actually weakens the political system, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And in line with what we are saying, you know, Minister Wike should know that he serves at the pleasure of Mr. President. Mr. President can decide to fire him today if he finds out that he's of no political value to him. So I have always said this, I've counseled him several times, you know, the need for him as a minister to be careful, you know, to tread carefully, because if, as Mr. President, you have the mandate, although it's not openly made, hold Rivers State down. As a PDP member, you sworn that you will never leave the PDP, but you are working for the APC. We can all see it, you know, there's no need for us to second guess him. You are working for the APC and against the interest of the PDP. It means when that interest, that primary interest that brought you to power is no longer there, you are dispensable. That is what Wike should know. And if a Fubara is able to take control of the political structure of Rivers State, Wike may find himself like my friend said, Igo, with the short end of the stick. And that is why we have always advocated that, like we started with in this program, that all politics should, at the end of the day, be people-centric. It's not, we should not, in the 20th century, see politics as a game of ego. It shouldn't be about ego. It shouldn't be about power. These guys have seen power. Wike have been in power since 1999. What should concern him is what impact have I had on the people. Politics should be people-centric. And where that is lacking, we urge our leaders to take a step back and ask themselves, you know, are we doing right?
I mean, when you talk about taking control of the state structure, you look at Governor Fubara. Do you think he has what it takes to be that, you know, rough like other politicians and be able to take control of that party structure in the state using whatever vehicle? Do you see that even happening? Well,
if you look at Governor Fubara externally, he looks like he's a gentleman, right? He's a gentleman, really. I think it is that mien, the possible vulnerability, the possible weak points that Wike saw. He thought that Fubara is a man that he could easily manipulate. He could just tell him, you do this, and he gets done. I guess Fubara was doing that initially, until he just discovered that he is almost becoming a placeholder for Wike. Is almost becoming a political appointee, because if the entire House of Assembly is controlled by Wike, then you have the local government chairman controlled by Wike. Then at any point that Wike is not happy with him, Wike could just instruct the House of Assembly in Rivers State, as what happened. Look, impeach this man, get him out of there. And so he saw that that was a political danger that he was walking into. And when he began to resist, he saw that Wike actually gave that instruction. That look, and then the House of Assembly began impeachment processes. And you know what the Constitution says: anything that is gross misconduct is what is perceived is enough to remove a sitting governor. So that in itself is very dangerous. But what is the takeaway in all of this? Basically, it is not the Rivers people, you know, are the losers in all of this game, because one political philosopher said that politics is the continuation of war by other means. So there is war now between these two gladiators by other means, and Rivers people are suffering. You know, we just think that at some point, you know, and the time is now for a halt to this bickering that is going on politically in Rivers State.
Right.
It is not helping the people, and it is extremely very dangerous. And people have also said that the president himself, who is the political leader of Nigeria, because when you are talking about Nigeria, the first person anybody will remember outside of the country is who is the president of Nigeria. So when people read all of these coming out of one subnational in Nigeria, this time it is Rivers State, I don't think it speaks well for our country, particularly pursuant to our drive for foreign direct investment, pursuant to international credibility within the global space. We are not playing well, and it is not good. So the president has a responsibility. He tried to wade in at some point by trying to proffer political solutions. And I think that the president should not be tired. He should come in again to find out what really happened, so that people will not think he's the one actually sending Wike to disrupt the peace of Rivers State. He has a responsibility.
Well, he also has an interest and a stake in Rivers State, as we have enumerated initially. But also, let's look at APP again. It's beginning to have an influx of a lot of people into its fold. You know, usually when politicians come together, you know, to fight a political enemy, they get what they want, and then eventually, or most times, there is infighting amongst them, because what put them together was not to serve. You know, there were personal interests at heart. So how do you see it playing out in this new party?
What put them together is not ideology. Rather, it is interest. When ideology, you believe in an ideology, I believe in an ideology, and we all come together to propagate that ideology, it's always easy for us to remain together. But we have highlighted the fact that as big as PDP is, as big as APC is, none of these political parties have a core ideology that you can identify with. Which political party?
PDP from the beginning, from 1999, seemed like it had a clear vision, and it had some prominent members, you know, that came together to sort of salvage Nigeria. So you would say from the beginning they were going somewhere, but something broke.
They were right-leaning,
I think
or left.
During President
Is it
Goodluck
right-leaning or left-leaning?
It doesn't have to be. You know,
it doesn't have to be that anyway.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is this: that because if you are ideologically inclined, it's difficult for me to be PDP today and tomorrow I'm APC. For me to win an election under the platform of a political party and tomorrow I'm in another political party. We see it play out over time, and that is why I said political parties in Nigeria, because they are not ideologically based, has become a special purpose vehicle. It's just a vehicle for you to attain power, grab power, and when you get there, you can do whatever you want to do with it. In the case of APP in Rivers State, that is what I see. It's just a special purpose vehicle, nothing else. Fubara is in PDP. He found out that, look, between PDP and APC in Rivers State, he cannot move. He doesn't control the structure of PDP in Rivers State, because the structure of PDP in Rivers State was practically handed over to Minister Wike.
Right.
He determines what happens. And when it comes to APC, Wike is there. There's nothing he can do. He has his loyalists, you know, controlling the heart and soul of the APC in Rivers State. So he has to look, he had no option but to look for, you know, a third option, which he chose as the APC. So that is what it is.
We should not also forget that there are precedents. You look at Peter Obi of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. He was a front runner in the PDP you know, before the 2023 presidential elections. But when he didn't get the ticket, Labour Party had never won any election at any level. I can't remember the Labour Party winning any national election, whether in the Senate or House of Reps. Or, you know, but once Peter Obi moved into the Labour Party, he took a life of its own. He became a powerful force. So that is what might likely happen in Rivers State. Now that Fubara has directed his loyalists to move into APP, once he is able to secure victory in the 23 local government, he secures it. I see the governor eventually moving into the APP, and then the APP will take a life of its own. But it will not have the national structure and spread that will be necessary. But again, Fubara does not need any national spread. At the center, he wants to be governor, he wants to return for a second tenure, and once he's able to get a second tenure, then his objective would have been met. Right. So it is individual, powerful and influential individuals that breathe life into political parties in Nigeria. But in other climes, it is the political party with a strong ideology, a strong political philosophy that attracts people of like mind to join such parties. And then once you join and win elections on the platform of such parties, you do not cross carpet. You do not, at any point that you find that your interest is not being met, you just announce that you are moved to the other party. We've seen it in the National Assembly, where the Senate President will just announce gleefully, happily, and sometimes I call it shamelessly because they are disgracing us, that this senator today has told us, he has written to us, is moving from the PDP to the APC, and sometimes from the APC. I mean, that is just, it's nonsense.
Oh, okay, let's step away from Rivers for a little bit and look at Nigeria as a whole. 64 in a few days. Nigeria will be 64 in a few days. There has to be bright spots in this country. What are the bright spots that you're seeing? You know, a review of the country. What are the great things that are happening in the country in spite of the economic difficulties we currently face?
Well, I'm seeing individual talents that have put Nigeria on the global map, whether in the area of, particularly in the area of entertainment. Lately, we have seen Afrobeat, young Nigerians, you know, we've seen Afrobeat music taking the global stage. We've seen young Nigerian women who are musicians. We've seen them at the global stage. In fact, the hunger, this ongoing hunger that's there, we saw the video there.
United Nations General Assembly meeting.
Yes. We also saw DJ Copy, that is, who is there. So individual talents, individual efforts have put Nigeria at that global stage. That if you move away from that, you come to in the area of research. We've seen Nigerian doctors also having medical practitioners having breakthroughs in medical research across the world, and they've been acknowledged. So we have seen individual efforts here and there, but in terms of, you know, in terms of combined efforts, particularly leadership, our leadership recruitment process is extremely very faulty, and the rest of Africa actually looks up to Nigeria to galvanize, you know, the sleeping giant, to galvanize the rest of Africa, you know, to the worst stage, such that the black man will now occupy its right of place. But we are yet to see that. We appear to be retrogressing in terms of political leadership. If you look at 1999, Obasanjo came out very strong. Obasanjo was a great leader, very influential, you know, whether on the African continent or at the global stage. Anywhere Obasanjo could, you see, he has this presidential courage, and he did a lot for me. By my own, he was able to establish the EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He set up the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. He built some institutions that we are proud of today, all right? So, but between then and now, we began to see some form of retrogression. For Yar'Adua, the late Yar'Adua, I have a lot of respect for him. The elections that brought him to power, he fought it and began electoral reforms in Nigeria. President Jonathan took off from there and even told Nigerians that his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. And he lived up to it. He came across as, he wrote his name in the Sands of Time by conceding defeat to President Buhari. I think that was where unknown to Nigerians, we began to regress from there.
Dr. Maho, as a Nigerian, how do you feel at 64 for the country?
We ought to feel great. We ought to feel that at least specifically at this point in time that we have 25 years of unbroken democracy. Democracy was supposed to be the hope. You know, we've had many years of successive military administration. You know, the global West tell us that democracy is the best form of government. But unfortunately, after 25 years of unbroken...
Well, Western democracy, you have to differentiate because there are different types of democracy.
We are practicing Western style democracy. Yes. That is the best form of government. But the point is, you know, there are theoretical reasons why we should believe that democracy is the best form of government. Because if you really look at it, democracy ought to be about the people, And if we've had 25 years of unbroken democracy, we should begin to look at times I'm not interested in what the leaders are saying. I'm not interested in your political manifesto. Whatever I'm interested in is how it impacts on the life of the average Nigerian on the street. What impact do you have? Your policy, what impact does it have on me? That is where I have the capacity to be able to test whether as a leader you are having impact. At times we say that, in classroom situation, we say that it's not about leadership is not about giving assignment to people. It's about supervision. Supervision is key. How have our leaders been able to see through their talk? It's not all about talking. So it's all about impact. How much impactful has this democracy been on the lives of the average Nigerian? And I think that is where the missing link is.
Right.
Where there is no impact on the life of the people, then we begin to ask questions. What's all this what's the democracy is all about? What about 64 years of independence all about? Okay. How has it impacted on the people's life? That is my concern.
Okay. Of course, if you subject the democracy models across the world to serious analysis, if you look at China, for example, how China started its growth almost about the same time that Nigeria also committed. We have the different visions, unfulfilled visions that Nigeria set for itself. You go to China, now China has become a major global power, whether in terms of military, in terms of economy, in terms of self-sustenance and independence. The Chinese have gone. But here we are still battling with multidimensional poverty and hunger.
Because we haven't solved the political
the problem.
question.
So, yes, absolutely. So for us, it is time to look inwards. At 64, yes, we've had some bright moments, some seemingly bright moments that is supposed to galvanize us into the global stage. But I think at every point that we are supposed to turn the bend, we keep missing it. And President Tinubu has an historic duty to try and put Nigeria back on the path of economic and political development.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Dr. Austin Maho and Mr. Akeregha. Thank you so much for, again, saving the day.
Thank you, Constance.